On RCA and by new gas-saving Pennzoil. Quality in every extra mile. Ask for it. Again, everyone. Dick Enberg with John Brody. Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. NFC champions, the Eagles in green, coached by Dick Vermeil, against the New England Patriots and Fargo, Ron Earhart. Earhart's team has won the toss. New England will receive Tony Franklin, the barefooted kicker, to number 23, Horace Ivory, at the 5-yard line. Patriots lost 29-28 last week. The Eagles were victorious against the Giants. We're underway. Deep. Franklin almost out of the end zone. And this big partisan crowd with a chance to cheer that strong leg of Franklin. The Patriots on offense. Quarterback Steve Grogan with rookie Tony Collins. He replaces the injured Vegas Ferguson and veteran Don Calhoun. The receivers, Carlos Pennywell. Stanley Morgan is injured. Harold Jackson, second or leading receiver active in the NFL. Tight end Hasselbeck. The blockers, Wheeler, Hanna called the best ever. Brockett center, Crichton and Jordan on the right side. First down from the 20. It's the rookie, and Collins squirms for 4, maybe 5 yards before Jerry Robinson can make the hit for the Eagles. The Philadelphia defense has Claude Humphrey, the veteran, at one end, Charlie Johnson, the nose guard, a Pro Bowler, and Carl Hairston. John Bunting, the veteran, Al Chesley for Bill Berge, inside backer, Frank LeMaster, and the speedy Jerry Robinson. Roynell Young, Herman Edwards, Raynard Wilson, and Randy Logan. A tough back four. It's a good defense and not heralded as much as you might expect for a team that led the NFL least points allowed. Collins again. And John Brody, it's that swarming defense of Vermeil.
Well, that's the situation, Dick, where you know that New England would like to throw play-action passes. I expect them to do so in future second, 6, second, 5 situations. It's been their most effective weapon. When you take a look at Grogan, you see a guy who is a 51% thrower, but his wide receivers average more than 20 yards a catch. So even though he is a low percentage passer, he's a big down guy.
Andy Johnson, number 32, from Georgia, in at running back. He threw 2 passes last week, completed both, one for a touchdown. Out of the shotgun. Both teams will use that offensive device today. Grogan hits Johnson. A first down and out of bounds around the 42-yard line. So Andy Johnson can throw it, and the NFL defensive backs know he can catch it.
Well, that was a situation where Grogan sent two of his receivers, both Hasselbeck and Pennywell, down the field. Let Andy Johnson cut off underneath. He beat Reggie Wilkes. If you can get your backs beating their linebackers, you can beat Philadelphia, but you've got to do it.
17 yards on that play. First down near the 43. Jackson to the left. Hasselbeck is the tight end on the right, and Pennywell flank right. Calhoun, he's at the 50 and into Eagle territory at the 47, but a flag goes down, or you would suspect a hold. It was a late flag thrown by an official downfield.
Maybe a face mask.
So the Patriots will tack on another at least 5 from the point of the tackle, which will take it inside the Philadelphia 45-yard line. Jim Tunney, the referee, marks it off to the 42.5.
Dick, we're looking at the 2 strongest elements on both teams.
5 yards, number 22, first down.
The offensive line of the Pats, the defensive line of the Eagles, and if the Pats win this game up at the line of scrimmage, you can bet they're going to score over 20 points. We talked earlier about that being the key. Calhoun had all the room in the world to run at the point of attack, and now we're back to first down.
This is Collins, the rookie, and a great hit made by 41. The veteran Randy Logan from Michigan. One of the things they like about Tony Collins, the rookie from East Carolina, is he gives the Patriots outside speed, but not quick enough to turn the corner on Logan. A loss of 2, second and 12.
Generally, you'd say, okay, Grogan would like to throw a play play-action pass, but in this situation, he wouldn't fool anyone. I wouldn't be surprised if he went to shotgun if he's going to throw.
Has both wide receivers to the right. Backs in the pattern. Down the middle to Jackson, and a fine play by Herman Edwards, number 46.
That is the toughest of coverage, Richard. Herman Edwards had to take Harold Jackson all alone, all the way across the field. When you can shadow an offensive receiver the likes of Jackson like that, 15, 20 yards after he's made his break, you're doing your job.
The way Edwards snapped his head back to look at the official, I think he wondered, did I make contact a little too soon? Ron Earhart didn't quite agree with the call or no call. 3rd and 12. Tony Collins and Andy Johnson with Grogan in the shotgun. Good protection. Johnson hit immediately at the 40-yard line. That'll be short of a first down. Herman Edwards and Jerry Robinson collaborated on the tackle. It'll be short of the first down. And Mike Kubach, the punter, comes in. Kubach averaged just 37 yards a kick last week in the loss to Baltimore. Toward the corner, that's Wally Henry, and he ducks out of bounds shy, I believe, of the 20-yard line. Let's check. Yes, they spot it at the 17-yard line. Steve Grogan had called his own plays last year, and now they're being sent in. Here's Ron Jaworski with a talented Wilbert Montgomery, leading rusher, leading receiver last year. Perry Harrington in at fullback. Harold Carmichael, all 6'8", second only to Harold Jackson, active receivers. Charlie Smith, he can be troubled. Keith Copley, the tight end. Stan Walters, he'll be watched closely, playing on a sore knee. Steve Kenny, also injured. Guy Morris with Ron Baker. Jerry Sizemore, the right tackle. Eagles' first chance. Montgomery, big hole. And he gains nearly 8 yards out to the 25-yard line. Tim Fox and Rod Choate make the tackle. Here's the defense for the white-jerseyed Patriots. Mark Boobin, a surprise starter from Tufts, a free agent at one end. Richard Bishop at nose. Julius Adams, Pro Bowler on the right side. Hawkins, top tackler is Nelson, 57. Matthews replacing Zamberlin and Choate. He has the speed. They're the number ones. Claiborne and Haynes at the corners. Fox and Sanford at safety. All picked in the first round. 2nd and 2. That play just didn't seem to get off properly as Perry Harrington, smothered by Steve Nelson, lost a yard. You don't like to lose a yard on 2nd and 2, do you?
No, and I know, a lot has been said about the Patriot defense just of late. People have been looking at statistics, and over the years, they really do kind of indicate strengths and weaknesses. Now, Adams, admittedly, is an outstanding defensive lineman, and Walters is going to have to handle him all by himself today, and it could be a key.
Out of the shotgun? No. They shift their backs. A lot of movement by Vermeil, a la Dallas and Tom Landry. Choate coming. Jaworski gets away. Choate makes the tackle, but shy of the first down. I believe that Jaworski fell forward as Bill Matthews finished off the tackle. Choate was coming in on a blitz. Jaworski ducked by him, and Rod came back and caught him by an ankle.
They're trying to help their pass rush with their defensive linemen trying to get to the thrower. So they do put a burden on those defensive backs. We're looking at Grogan, and I'll tell you, he's taken his share of abuse, but I don't think it's justified.
Second down and 4. Not much there for fullback Perry Harrington, who is replacing the injured Leroy Harris, out with 2 broken bones in his arm. And it's short of the first down, brings up 3rd and 2.
All right, second down 4. We mentioned the play of Julius Adams with Stan Walters. You can see that he's getting a little help from Steve Kenny that time, but he does hold his own. He is an extremely strong defensive end that's also a fine pass rusher. If he had another man to help him in the pass rush, there's no telling how good the guy might be.
Adams from Texas Southern, number 85. 3rd and 2, the quick toss. Montgomery does not get the first down, at least from this angle. Bill Matthews from South Dakota State, number 53, made the tackle. Might require a measurement. Now, Jaworski heading off. He is indicated by his actions. It's 4th and less than a yard. In to punt, Max Runiger from South Carolina, his 3rd year with the Eagles, averaging 40.2 yards a kick last week. Beautiful high kick. Roland James at the 21. Good coverage by the Eagles at the 23. Billy Campfield led the charge. We welcome those fans that have watched the Houston Oilers Cleveland Browns game, and not a touchdown scored, but the Oilers are 2-0 and the Browns 0-2. 9-3 on Tony Frisch's 3 field goals. We have no score here at Veterans Stadium, Philadelphia. 9 minutes remaining in the first quarter. Exchange of possession twice. Patriots got the ball, moved to a first down in Eagles territory. Eagles made 1 first down, have just kicked it back to New England. From the 23 and a flag down. Calhoun, short yardage. Claude Humphrey made the first hit. Offside Eagles.
Well, I'm not sure who it was, but I know number 87, Claude Humphreys, gets such a jump on the offensive tackle whenever he can, whenever it's a passing situation, that he could have been offsides. I don't.
Encroachment, number 95. Defense lining up in the neutral zone, still first down.
Well, there is no. Oh, yes, sir. John Bunting, 95, is a linebacker who sometimes will come up in a standing position on a wing, on an end. So 1st and 5. Collins and Tutupu are the setbacks behind Grogan. Draw to Collins, 30. And cut down at the 38-yard line by Brainerd Wilson. That'll be a first down on a 10-yard gallop by Turbo Tony Collins, picked 2nd out of East Carolina.
He's really got good lateral movement, Dick. That time he got a pretty good block from Tutupu to get him past the line of scrimmage, but when you see something plugged up at the line of scrimmage where you intend to go and your back can just slide to the outside, find a hole for himself and pick up 9 yards, you've got to find it.
Collins did a good job last week starting for Vegas Ferguson. He gained 81 yards, 5.4 average. Only Calhoun behind Grogan on first down. And he spins for 4 out to the 42-yard line before Frank LeMaster can make the tackle. Let's run down the scoreboard on game 2nd week of this NFL season. Houston has defeated Cleveland 9-3 on an all field goal game. Kansas City makes it 2-0 as they knock off the Buccaneers 19-10. Atlanta down 17-0, rallied to beat the Packers 31-17. Oh, they've got to be moaning in Milwaukee and Green Bay. New Orleans hands the Rams their 2nd straight loss, 23-17. A big upset as Bum Phillips equals the win total of last year for New Orleans. Grogan to Jackson. Incomplete at the 38 of Philadelphia. Jackson was open.
What do we say? Play action situations are Grogan's meat. They love to get both Stanley Morgan and Jackson down the field. Stanley Morgan, who might be the finest receiver in this game today, is out. But take a look at Jackson. He's got a one-on-one situation. When a receiver gets enough time to go down the field, make his move on a defensive back, the poor guy's in a position of reacting to whatever the offensive receiver does. Can't anticipate anything. Poor execution execution, or it would have been a big game.
Jackson, number 1 active receiver and number 7 all-time with 532 catches. Many of those for the Eagles. He had some great seasons here. Shotgun, 3rd and a long 5. Jackson is open. 30. And he's out of bounds at the 23. And Grogan knocked down as he threw, but he floated it over the Eagle defense, and there was Jackson all by himself.
And I mean, it's only a quarterback that has the courage, you name it. They use a lot of phrases for it, but he is hanging in there under the severest of circumstances. He throws it over Hasselbeck's head. You can see Roynell Young thought he was throwing it underneath. Jackson was right down the sideline where he had to be, and they pick up a big first down.
Little Harold Jackson. It's a unique game in that we are seeing the top 2 active receivers matched against each other. Harold Jackson and another Harold, Carmichael of Philadelphia, are currently 1-2 active. Collins burrowing his way to the 20-yard line. Center of the Eagle defense to stop him. Hairston leading the charge. Number 78 from Maryland State. Number 78, Maryland State, conjures up some thoughts of a pretty good defensive lineman from that school. 78, Roger Brown, who starred with the Lions and the Rams.
He was one of those fellas you just didn't want to fall on.
2nd and 6. Collins for about 3 to the 17-yard line, where veteran Claude Humphrey and Frank LeMaster, Charlie Johnson all make the tackles.
There's no secret to the strategy, because you know New England wants to come right at Claude Humphrey, who had been used, especially in passing downs, at 14.5 sacks last year, but now is put in a role of having to play the entirety of defense. And Shelby Jordan might be one of the finest tackles in this game. Some people say he was the best lineman on their team last year, and that, John Hanna has been looked at as the best player in the game. So,
and that's Hanna lined up at left guard. See if they run behind him on 3rd and 2. Nope, out of the shotgun. Wide open. Johnson. Jerry Robinson makes the tackle. It's 1st and goal at the 6-yard line. 11 yards on that play. So twice he's gone to Johnson on that same pattern.
it is the same pattern, Dick. When they get down inside the 20-yard line, it forces a team to play man-to-man defense, because you can't play a zone. They'll just eat you to death. This time Johnson went down, made a real fine move on Robinson, and when you beat Jerry Robinson, you beat a player.
I think he gave Robinson that little inside look, and Robinson didn't figure he'd do the same thing twice in a row.
That's right. He did what's needed. He gave the quarterback a chance to set up before he made his break.
5.5 minutes remaining in the first quarter. No score. 1st and goal at the 6. Collins can't get outside. It's Logan again who makes the play. Number 41, Logan, an All-American Wolfman at Michigan. They had some pretty good defensive backs in Ann Arbor those days. Tom Darden, now with the Browns. Dave Brown with the Seattle Seahawks, and Randy Logan.
Dick, it looked like one of those plays that was designed to go outside, but the hole opened up just a little bit underneath. Collins, being new to the game, hasn't been in a lot of situations down by the goal line. You can bet when they look at the film, they're going to say, "Hey, get him, crack and hit it, fella."
From inside the 5. That's Tutupu in motion. Knocked away by Brainerd Wilson. Intended for Tutupu.
This has to be one of the hardest balls to catch in the world. Running away from the quarterback, where you have to turn your whole body around an awkward way, right in the face of the defender. Bernard Wilson actually made a fine play. If he caught the ball, it would have been for no gain. So, although it looked like a miss, it wasn't going anywhere.
3rd and goal from inside the 5. Andy Johnson, Tony Collins in the backfield behind Grogan. Intended for Jackson, incomplete in the end zone. And that'll bring on the field goal unit as the Eagle fans cheer their defense. 28 seconds left in the first period. New England 3 and the NFC champion Eagles nothing. Ron Earhart, 49-year-old head coach, replaced Chuck Fairbanks. Run this New England ball club. It's his third year, 19 and 13 combined his first 2 seasons. Kubach, the punter, will kick off. Deep Billy Campfield for Philadelphia. He'll take it at the 6. Through the wedge and down at the 27-yard line. John Zamberlin from Pacific Lutheran made the tackle. Let's watch Zamberlin, a great athlete, outstanding baseball prospect, was drafted by the Seattle Mariners.
He's one of those linebackers that New England has found that has done an outstanding job. He's extremely aggressive. It's the kind of player they need more of on their defense. He gets in the action.
Boy, breaking that wedge, that's enough to give you nightmares, isn't it?
A lot of guys only do it once.
Fans cheering on the Eagles as Jaworski sets up shop at his 27. Only Harrington behind him. They have Montgomery on a wing. Harrington. Schote got there first, and Adams finished the tackle after short yardage. Perry Harrington from Jackson State.
Very aggressive defense, Dick, and it all sets up when you find a defensive end who's doing his job. Here you have Julius Adams on Stan Walters. Vermeil knows that Walters has to have a good day on Adams for them to be able to do a lot of the things they need to do to operate. Well, Adams stands Walters up. He forces the running back outside, and the linebackers pursue and pick it up.
And then he still got a piece of the tackle, too. That was an outstanding individual effort. Left end, and on the tackle, he's a free agent pick from Tufts University. Boobin wears 63. Dad, an Orthodox minister. He's local here in Medford, Massachusetts, not too far from Foxborough, the home base of the Patriots.
Now they've got that four-man front in there, Dick. Everybody in the house knows it's going to be a throw. It looks like a blitz or a fake.
Almost 11 men on the line. There is 11 on the line.
That's right.
Jaworski to Parker, incomplete. Sanford playing man for man on Rodney Parker.
You look at matchups, Dick, and even Vermeil had mentioned, he said, you know what I hate to see? I hate to see a team come up and play our receivers in the bump and run. Now, this is a third down passing situation. You notice that time none of the receivers broke clear. Now, the real swift, small ones often have an opportunity to break clear. Now, Harold Jackson, nobody try that play on. But Carmichael, he's easier to handle that way.
Runniger to kick. Returning for New England inside the 30-yard line, number 40 Mike Haynes and 38 Roland James. James on the far side. Nice kick. High and deep. Haynes lets it go. Out of bounds at the 4-yard line. Oh, my. Congratulates his teammates, but hey, he's the one who's happy. 64 yards on the kick, 2:40 left first quarter.
Brian Dublin, New York, at the Kingdom. The Seahawks have used the tackle eligible to get on the board. Lined up tight at the left-hand side of your screen is Dennis Boyd. He gets lost in the shuffle and catches a touchdown pass. Seahawks in front, 7-3. Back to Dick Enberg.
All right, Brian. Nice to know that Jack Patera is still up to his tricks. Tackle eligible for a touchdown. Here, Max Runniger officially has just punted 64 yards. That's by 6 yards, the longest of his NFL career. And Steve Grogan and the Patriots are pinned in deep at their own 4-yard line. Leading 3-0, 2:40 left first quarter. Jackson tackled immediately by Herman Edwards at the 10-yard line. A flag is down. 7 yards. We'll see if it counts. Eagles for the second time offside. I think they're lining up offside, John.
be in that neutral zone. It used to be where they'd let you get away with it, and they feature certain rules each year, and this is one they're just not going to allow to go on. I think it's a good deal for the offensive lineman.
Out to the 9.
Encroachment, number 99 in the neutral zone.
Number 99, Leonard Mitchell, the number 1 draft pick of the Eagles from the University of Houston. All-American for the Cougars. It's the kind of little mistakes that Dick Vermeil doesn't tolerate well.
And you see Vermeil has already replaced Mitchell in Humphrey's spot, so that he's going to
give the veteran a breather. It's a very hot day, and down on that carpet, they're in the shade now, but as you work toward midfield or down to the right side of Veterans Stadium, the heat generated off that artificial surface has to be up 95 degrees.
And this is an indicator as to who's going to win the game, in my opinion. It's the offensive line of the Pats against the defense of the Eagles. It's about a standoff so far today. We haven't seen any clear-cut advantage, but both teams are after it.
Boy, Shelby Jordan did a nice job on Mitchell on that play. Second and call it 2.5. Calhoun with a first down and more. Look at him, Kerry Wilson with him out to the 45-yard line. A flag is down back at the 29. Calhoun just threw out that straight arm, and Wilson, it took him about 15 yards to haul him down.
Looked like a Jim Brown. He's the only man I've ever seen be able to do it effectively.
That's a good call. Jim Brown did indeed. He just knocked you on your pants with that straight arm. And it's against the Eagles. Calhoun with a handoff.
And when he gets through at the point of attack, which he does very well, he comes out. Now, Bernard Wilson is going for anything he can get.
Face mask, number 22, 5 yards, tacked on to the end of the run. First down.
Face mask beats 6 points because that's what would have happened had he not grabbed the face mask.
At that point, that's all he could get.
That's all he got.
That was the only appendage left, because with the straight arm of Calhoun, that's only the fingernails got to the face mask. First down at midfield. New England leading 3-0. That was a 33-yard run by Calhoun. Collins to about the 46-yard line, where Jerry Robinson, 56 from UCLA, made the tackle. Hairston assisting.
Carl Hairston, who many people think is as fine a defensive end as there is in the game. Excellent pass rusher, but devastating against the rush. He hangs in there for 60 minutes every week.
He was available in the 7th round because as a junior and senior in college, his team didn't win a game. 0-20. Sometimes you overlook the players on those losing teams. Collins can't get away from 78 Hairston. He's a hustler, and the speedy Collins couldn't elude him.
He's not overlooked in Philadelphia. He's in on about 2 out of 5.
Carl Hairston. Claude Humphrey, 87, said of Hairston, "I've never seen anyone hustle the way Hairston does." And it's a kind of a comment that when a ball player pays that to a teammate, that is high praise.
And Claude's been a hustler. You know, if you're playing for 16, 15 years, you've done some hustling of your own.
That's right. Third and a short 7. Down the middle. Intended for the tight end Hasselbeck. Raynard Wilson on the coverage. And Grogan under pressure.
They did put pressure on Grogan. All 3 of these linemen get pretty good penetration. Now, Claude Humphrey is handled by Shelby Jordan this time. Grogan steps up into the place and got rid of it with no time to spare as Hairston was coming fast, but there was just no one open.
Hubach to punt. Henry and Chimona, and back at the 10 for Philadelphia. Ooh, not a good snap, and Spagnola was in on the kicker. Henry lets it go. Touchback. Hubach hits it well, but right down the middle into the end zone. Timeout. 18 seconds left in this first quarter. The Patriots have moved the ball more effectively, but lead by only 3. New England Patriots 3, Philadelphia Eagles nothing. This may be the final play of the first quarter, just seconds remaining. Smith and Carmichael both to the left from the 20-yard line. Montgomery sweeps the other way and has a first down to match the number on his back at the 31-yard line. Other scores in the NFL. against Tampa Bay 19-10. 31-17, Atlanta rallying from a 17-0 deficit. The Rams have lost 2 in a row. Bum Phillips celebrates his first win as head coach of the Saints. We'll have the other scores for you when we return. That's the end of the first quarter. Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, where the New England Patriots lead the Philadelphia Eagles 3-0.
Radio Shack TRS-80 Model 3 business computer increase your manager's productivity. So when you need that report
tomorrow by 9,
you'll get it. Because the TRS-80 provides instant information access, simplifies planning and projections, prepares error-free documents through word processing. It's the professional, affordable management tool. TRS-80 Model 3 from $24.95 only at Radio Shack, the biggest name in little computers.
Back here in Philadelphia, 32-yard line. The Eagles have the ball after the first down run by Wilbert Montgomery. That's Montgomery out on the wing. Both wide receivers to the left. And contact before the snap is Ken Ray Hamilton, number 71, leaning forward into the center. Hamilton, an accredited pro tennis official, honor student, bachelor's and master's.
71 defense. Still first down.
Out of Oklahoma.
I'll tell you what, when you do something like this, it doesn't have much to do with intelligence. It just means intensity is up and you're trying to get as fast as you can back to that quarterback slot.
First quarter, John Brody, New England had the ball 10 minutes, 11 seconds. Philadelphia only 4:49.
Might explain the 0.
3-0 Patriots here early second quarter. Terry Harrington picking his way out to the 43. And that looks to be good enough for a first down. Richard Bishop, number 64, and on the tackle along with Rod Schote.
Good offensive line, Serge. Let's look at Krepley, the tight end, who is an excellent blocker. And really, I think the role of the tight end has become more in the past year due to the rule change, that of a blocker. I mean, he's almost an offensive tackle to complement the running game. He's a fine receiver. He's been a fine one for several years, but his role is diminished some.
Krepley lined up on the right side. First down, Eagles at the 43. Reverse, yes. Perry Harrington has some blocking. 50, and he's down to the 43, but so is a penalty flag. Rod Schote finally tracked him down. Clipping against the Eagles.
It was one of those plays, Dick, that, you know, when everything breaks so clean and one man notices, if I can just get this one fella that's just by me, just a touch.
Personal foul, clipping during the run. Number 17, still first down.
Harold Carmichael. You recall it was Carmichael in the Super Bowl, even though the play wasn't his side. Started in motion just a bit too soon and cost the Eagles a touchdown pass to Rodney Parker.
Changed the whole flow of the game.
It really did. It was something I had to live with all season.
Andy Johnson, that was standard operating procedure, I guess, if you're not in the game, huh? Those helmets take enough abuse, huh?
It's a great shot. There are the penalty yardage against the Eagles, 35-5. Instead of a long gain, it's first and about 18. First and 20. Charlie Smith streaking down that far sideline. Ray Claiborne on the coverage. Let's look at this one from a defensive back's point of view, John Brody.
And Dick, with one exception, New England has played straight all day long. They've kept a free safety back. In this situation, they're playing a zone, but you can see the deep back has a little problem getting over down the sideline. There's a little space that's created between the fellas that are coming up playing the short zone and the two deep people back. Just a little overthrown, or they had a long gainer.
Second down, a little over 17.
up in your right part of your screen, you can see the coordination between the quarterback and the receiver. Jaworski had actually thrown the ball just before Carmichael made his turn. That's why it looked like Carmichael was so wide open. Defensive backs don't have a chance when that kind of coordination's in focus.
Number 1 and number 2 active in the NFL. Seen today, Jackson for the Patriots and Carmichael for the Eagles. Montgomery with those quick feet. All the way to the 27.
Nobody is better than Wilbert Montgomery at finding a hole if the point of attack is not open. This play was designed to go inside tackle. He slipped it underneath Schote and Hawkins, came up, made it at the point of attack. Tim Fox had to make the play, and don't think Harold Carmichael's loafing after he made his big catch. Watch this. These are the things that set running backs free.
Carmichael tying up the defensive back. First down, Jaworski. Carmichael. Knocked out of bounds by Claiborne. Short yardage, quick hit from Jaworski to the giant target. 6'8" Harold Carmichael. Dick Vermeil's team on the march, trailing 3-0. You know, John Brody, I know you could heave it pretty far, but they say Carmichael, when he was young with the Eagles, could literally throw the ball from one end zone to the other, 100 yards. We saw him yesterday behind his back throw it 40 yards.
Yeah, well, I know he's got a strong arm. I've never seen anybody do it, but I'd spend an extra day in Philadelphia to watch it.
Harrington. He's close to the 15, out of bounds at the 16. Another first down. It's been an impressive march for the Eagles. Tim Fox made the tackle. Jaworski, all 3 of his completions have been to Carmichael. I guess when you're back there looking downfield for a green jersey, Carmichael's easy to find.
If he's standing up, you can find him. You'll notice they've run the ball effectively to the right during this drive. They've stayed away from Julius Adams. He has stuffed everything they've run at him, but they are having success on the other end.
That's a good point. From the 17, trailing 3-0. Montgomery. Fumble! But it goes right into the arms of number 73, Steve Kenny, the offensive guard. There's a break for Philadelphia.
It's a break for 2 reasons. Number 1, that he fumbled the ball right into his arms, but number 2, that Kenny wasn't blocking anyone and was standing around the pile and alert enough to pick it up. You can see Walters does his job this time on Adams, who's trying to get back to Jaworski. Here goes the ball. There's Kenny.
Hello.
3 guys standing around. It goes to the green shirt and keeps the drive alive.
And sometimes it pays to be lucky. At the 9-yard line, it'll be 2nd and 3. Patriots and Eagles didn't get their share of fumble recoveries last year. Montgomery fumbles again.
Oh!
That's a free ball. And Rick Sanford has it for the New England Patriots. And in fact, had he been able to get it initially, could have run all the way. That was not unlike the play where the Steelers lost last week against Kansas City.
Well, it doesn't look like a very difficult play to execute. It's just a little handoff. He never got it cleanly in his grasp. As such, he started going out, bounced it, and Sanford almost picked it up on a dead run right here. If Sanford gets it now, it's 6 points. He did not pick it up cleanly. Fox makes a fine play and allows Sanford to come back, get it again, good bounce, turn over to New England.
Hey, good camera coverage, too. Ted Nathanson, our director, Larry Cirillo, our producer, right on the spot to see that from 2 different angles. Grogan now brings his team on the field with a 3-0 lead when it appeared the Eagles had a glorious opportunity to take the lead.
They did the things they do best. They did them effectively.
Sanford from South Carolina, the man on the spot to pick up that fumble. Alex Hawkins had been the top Gamecock ever drafted by the NFL. Phil Sanford was a first-round pick, but that's changed now, too, with George Rogers, the first ever man picked this last draft by New Orleans. And we've got a break in Philadelphia. 44-year-old Dick Vermeil. What a building job he has done. You talk about orchestrating a program in 5 years, going 4-10, then 5-9, 9 9-7, 11-5, 12-4, improvement every year all the way to the Super Bowl. He's really turned this franchise around. Grogan looking left and throwing right for Hasselbeck. Oh. Right in the arms of Roynell Young, and he couldn't hold on. Boy, that's 2 plays back-to-back by the Eagles, enough to turn the head coach pale.
Well, that's the danger of trying to throw one of those look-off passes. He's looking out to the left. When Grogan finally did turn, he's trying to catch Hasselbeck on the dead run. He really hasn't looked at him. Now watch this. Look. As soon as he makes his move, he comes out there, hasn't accurately found Hasselbeck, and certainly doesn't know there's 3 people around him, but you better waste a little more time looking, or one of those is going to be picked off and run in.
Grogan dodges the bullet. The Patriots still have the ball at the 32, 2nd and 10. They lead 3-0 early in the second quarter. Tony Collins to the 40-yard line, a gain of nearly 7. Carl Hairston made the tackle. We gave you some of the final scores, one that we did not. The New York Giants have their first win of the year over the Washington Redskins, 17-7, and Buffalo winning again and big, 35-3 against Baltimore. You saw the Bills last week. That's 2 weeks in a row over 30 and haven't allowed a touchdown.
Haven't allowed a touchdown, and I think it indicates, we were talking about the Jets football team, and I mentioned that it really wasn't as bad as the score had indicated. Right now, Buffalo is playing as well and executing so well offensively the way Ferguson's playing, and their defense is allowing nothing, that they can do that darn near anybody.
31-0 last week and winning 35-3 today. Grogan. He has the first down at the 43. Well, that's not unusual to see Grogan running until last year. He led the NFL quarterbacks in rushing 4 straight years and then came up with knee problems, and last year rushed for just a little over 100. Doesn't like to run as much now. Doesn't want to. So, well, New England has a first down at the 43. Let's check with Brian Gumble. This update from New York.
Okay, Dick, it's taken them 5 quarters, but the Jets' highly publicized offense has finally put some points on the board. 40 yards, Richard Todd into the arms of Jerome Barkham. Jets in front of the Bengals, 7-0. Dick?
All right, Brian. Jets trying to follow the Giants' lead. The 2 New York teams trying to pick up their initial win today. Out to the 49-yard line goes Tony Collins, and a good gain on first down, about 2nd and 5. Frank LeMaster, the tackler.
Dick, you mentioned something about Grogan, that it was not very rare to watch him run whenever he was pressured, and I think you're going to see that change more and more and more, and I think he's going to be a more effective quarterback because of it, because those who can't run effectively stay in the pocket longer, which I think you're watching him do, and I think do their job better without getting tired running down the field.
Good case in point would be Kenny Stabler.
Perfect.
Fumble! And Collins almost pulled the Wilbert Montgomery right back as he was fumbling it forward, and fortunate to be able to fall on it for a 1-yard gain.
There have been some pretty good bounces. We've seen Collins get a good one and a bad one. That was the best one. The other ended up in a turnover.
Carl Hairston reaching his paw in there, trying to rip it away. It is a 1-yard gain on the fumble, and 3rd and 3 for the Patriots. 8 minutes, 11 seconds left in this game, following the pattern of so many today. Field goal, and that's it.
A lot of movement, but no touchdown.
Out of the shotgun. Collins is open.
Out.
But it's intercepted. Roynell Young, who had 4 as a rookie last year, he had Collins open early and then couldn't get it to him, finally forced it, and Young was there to pick it off at the 31-yard line.
Very alert play, Dick, by Young. He went off his man. He was watching Grogan all the way, and when the ball was released, he was quick enough to react to it.
Well, that was a series designed to have someone turn it over because there was a near interception, near fumble recovery, finally the interception.
This is Brian Gumble in New York. Out at Shea Stadium, the Jets have scored again. Richard Todd to the air, 15 yards to Wesley Walker. Jets now out in front of the Bengals, 14-0 in the second period. Let's go back to Veteran Stadium. Dick Enberg.
All right, Brian. Here, the New England Patriots. Steve Grogan has been intercepted. Bill Berge on the sidelines. Berge, the all-pro linebacker, being replaced by Al Chesley. Berge had knee surgery, slow and recuperating, and it's one of those critical times in an athlete's life. When do you say goodbye?
Well, he doesn't want to. He's all football, and he also is responsible for the personality of the Eagle defense over the past 3 or 4 years.
In the role of a cheerleader today, from the 34, Jaworski. In trouble, gets away.
everybody make their own judgment. But in my opinion, all Jaworski sees is he sees, after running all over the place, that he's got a receiver wide open. And even though he falls down, it looks to him as though he's got plenty of time to get up and make some move. He's down, but that's all right. He's got to get touched.
I think they called that an incomplete pass. They brought it back to the second and 10, back at the line of scrimmage. So they called that incomplete.
I didn't see that part.
Neither did I. There one is. Through Harrington's hands. Wonder if we could go back to the preceding play at Spagnola. Apparently, Pat Harder, the umpire, ruled that the ball hit the carpet before Spagnola had control. 3rd and 10. Here it is again.
See what we can see. He's got it. It's on the ground. It looks as if to me he retained control. We all miss a few. In my opinion, he missed that one.
And from that angle, it appeared a good catch. But ruled incomplete. It's 3rd and 10. Out of the shotgun, Jaworski. Anticipating a possible move by New England to block the kick.
And it's better to give up 5 yards than a block punt.
Delay, exceeding in 30 seconds. 5 yards, still 4th down.
Ball goes back to the 29. Vermeil from Calistoga, California. You know that area, good wine country.
Well, the funny thing is I can remember him growing up as a coach when he was coaching Stanford and Jim Plunkett along with Bill Walsh. And I think he has come as far as anyone as a coach and as a person. You can see he's on top of things pretty well.
I remember him as a young assistant with the Rams. He looked younger than most of the players.
Still does.
Out of bounds, but way upfield. They're going to mark that one out near the 39-yard line. So New England will have excellent field position. We're at the middle of the second quarter. The Patriots by 3.
81. It's as hard-hitting as the sport it covers.
Well, Max Reniger, who had a long booming kick 2 punts ago, gets about half the total on that one. 64 yards and then half. 32 on that last kick, and it's New England's ball just shy of their own 40. They lead 3-0. 7 minutes plus remaining in the first half. They only scored 22-yard field goal by John Smith. Play action. Grogan up in the air for grabs.
On a catch.
Intercepted. Claude Humphrey forced it, and Charlie Johnson, who had 3 interceptions last year, gets his first of this year.
All right, we mentioned the matchup, Shelby Jordan and Claude Humphreys, but the reason this play was a turnover is that Grogan is trying to get to Hasselbeck. He was manhandled by the linebackers. He had to wait. When he did throw, Humphreys was all over his frame. That was just a great team defensive interception.
Grogan intercepted for the second time. Humphrey nailing Grogan, the ball straight in the air, and Charlie Johnson. Hey, that's 4 in 16 games. Not bad for a defensive tackle.
That's the best catch we've seen all day.
Eagles trail 3-0. Smith in motion. Montgomery. Rod Schote barreling into him at about the 35-yard line. Short yardage. There he is, a veteran Claude Humphrey. Well, you were introduced to him a time or 2 on the field.
You bet. We used to play. He was in our division. I played him about 8 or 9 years. And the only thing I've noticed that's different different about him, Dick, is that he doesn't talk so much. I mean, he hasn't changed one step. He used to do everything but call plays for you when he was out there, and since then he's quieted down. But when you play in this league for 14 or 15 years, that's the only thing I've seen change.
He's the Yogi Berra of football, huh?
Oh, he had some pretty good lines, too.
Second down, 8 at the 35. Watch out! Tony McGee has the first New England sack, and Jaworski lucky to come out of that one alive. It appeared that Ron didn't see him at all.
Well, I don't think Jerry Sizemore saw him either. You take a look, you very seldom have a defensive end come in all alone untouched. He did not have a remaining back. You see Wilbur Montgomery trying to get out in some sort of a screen pass. Tony McGee came right behind him. Now, whose assignment it was, I do not know, but I know it was designed to get some piece of Tony.
Mack the sack. He has been the #1 sack man for the Patriots 6 consecutive years. We won't get one any cleaner than that. That was a sit pigeon for McGee. Out of the shotgun, 3rd and long, about 17. Deep to Campfield. Broken up by Tim Fox. A fine play by Fox from Ohio State.
And Dick, it's so hard for a deep safety, which Fox really is playing back there. They've got 2 deep safeties back there that have to cover the entirety of the field. That's a little more than 53 yards in width. Now we see what they're trying to do is get Campbell down the sideline. They're splitting the zone, get it over the linebacker. Fox was able to come all the way from his deep safety position just in time to keep it from being a reception.
So, the New England Patriots survived another interception, and it's James back for Runager's kick.
New England did in this series what they haven't been doing. That is stop somebody after they get a good turnover.
Aiming for the coffin corner, going to be a good kick. Out of bounds, they'll mark it at, not as good as some of the fans, and I thought 12-yard line. That's kind of frustrating for the fans. The official who marks that on the sidelines kept walking farther and farther. They couldn't believe it. First down, New England. They lead 3-0. Time running out, first half. Dick Enberg, John Brody. We're at Veterans Stadium, Philadelphia. Sellout of over 71,000. New England Patriots, the underdog, leading the Eagles 3-0 with 5.5 minutes left in this first half. Drogan is 4 of 12. His last 2 passes have been intercepted. Collins, a quick move. He saw his hole and drives it to the 20-yard line. Now, that was a veteran's move.
That's exactly what he didn't do when they got down close to the goal line before. This play is designed to go wide, but the key to it is your offensive tackle. Shelby Jordan, number 74 on Claude Humphreys, the man who just beat him getting to Grogan. This time he forces him, pulls him down the line. Collins finds an opening, takes advantage of it, picks up about 7.
2nd and 3. And we welcome you fans that have been watching the Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Colts, and the Bills. Another impressive win, 35-3 here in Philadelphia, 3-0. The New England Patriots on a 22-yard field goal by John Smith. And have just picked up a first down as Al Chesley puts the hook on rookie Tony Collins. Turbo Tony has been impressive. He's from a family of 16. And in the preseason, the #1 rusher for the Patriots. He has replaced the injured Vegas Ferguson the first 2 games, had 81 yards last week, and is piling up the yardage again today.
I've got the feeling that when Sam Cunningham comes back, these two are going to make quite a combination.
Well, they have some talent, and Cunningham's expected to sign on Monday. He's agreed to terms, but will sign tomorrow. Oops! Number 75, Bob Kreider, the right guard, pulling off his stance. 5 yards against New England. Let's we join the audience that's been watching the first half of the doubleheader. Buffalo at Baltimore, 35-3 Bills.
False start, number 75.
John Brody, in
Still
2
first
games,
down.
Chuck Knox's Bills have outscored the opposition 66-3.
And I don't think it's a fluke. Last week, they just looked perfect, and they couldn't have looked too bad today.
And playing away from home. So Knox and the Bills, a playoff team last year, off to a great start. Long for Pennywell. Hit him in the shoulder pad. That would have been a miraculous catch if Pennywell could have pulled it off.
Well, usually you say anything that hits you, you ought to catch, but that time he was running dead away from the ball. The ball was coming right straight at his back. Grogan had to put a little more on this ball. He got good protection. He was able to step up. If he puts the ball a little bit more into the center of the field, allows Pennywell, who has beaten his man already, they would have had a big gainer.
That's a Willie Mays catch there.
Yeah, there are a few cats that can catch it, but I can count them on one hand.
Hey, a man who used to catch that ball well was Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch.
That's right.
His Wisconsin football team. Boy, Elroy Hirsch, now the athletic director of the Badgers. They had that big upset at Michigan yesterday. Draw to Collins. Nothing there. Well read by the Eagles. Let's run down all the scores for you around the National Football League today. In a field goal battle, Houston's Frisch defeated Cleveland 9-3. Tampa Bay loses at Kansas City. The Chiefs are now 2-0. Atlanta was down 17-0, rallied to win. Rams are 0-2 as New Orleans has its first win for Bum Phillips. The Giants' first victory against the Redskins, 17-7. Buffalo demolishes Baltimore 35-3. 10-3, Seattle with a lead against Denver in the second quarter. We'll get the rest for you after this play. Here it's 3-0. Rogan on third down. Tony Collins, well covered by Jerry Robinson, and Grogan may have elected to just throw that one away. Rest of the scoreboard, game's in progress. San Diego leading the Lions 7-3 early. And the Jets with a 14-0 lead against the Bengals in the second period. Dallas 14, the Cardinals 7, a renewal of a long rivalry second quarter. 49ers have a touchdown lead against the Bears in the second period. They better get more. Hubach. High floater. Wally Henry at the other end at the 28. 30, 35. Out of bounds at the 39. Wally Henry. Henry, who had his spleen removed last year after an injury. Good return. We'll be back in Philadelphia. The Patriots by 3. New England fans here in Philadelphia. There's Wally Henry. I mentioned he had his spleen removed. We want to send our best to Bob Chandler, who had that same surgery, and Bob out of the intensive care unit. And pleased that he's doing all right. The fine outside receiver for the Oakland Raiders. Our best to him. What do they need it? Great player. Trailing 3-0. Jaworski. Dropped by Krefley. He was well covered, however, as Matthews and Schote had teamed up on the pass defense. Two linebackers. Schote from Oklahoma. Matthews from South Dakota State.
It has been, Dick, over and over in this ball game in the first half, the score being 3-0. Poor execution, which has kept both teams from moving the ball at will up and down the field. Both sides have excellent offensive talent, and Jaworski, when he has started slow, and his stats indicate that he's starting slow today, even though he hasn't thrown it poorly, he seems to keep coming and coming and coming. That's one of the improved factors about Jaworski, and Vermeil says, I've never seen him end a game slow when he started that way.
All right, Jaworski didn't like the defensive set, so uses one of his 3 timeouts. It comes at the 2:57 mark. We'll return to Philadelphia, where the Patriots lead 3-0. Dick Vermeil from UCLA to Philadelphia. Ron Jaworski was one of his players with the Los Angeles Rams, and the Eagles acquired Jaworski, a second-string quarterback, in '76 for tight end Charlie Young. And Jaworski, as has been the case with Vermeil, keys to the success of this Eagle franchise. Second and 10 at the 39, trailing 3-0, less than 3 minutes left in the first half. Diving try by the tight end Krefley, but that ball had to be thrown perfectly because the Patriots had it well covered. Steve Nelson was there.
Yeah, Nelson was sitting right in the passing lane. When a linebacker has responsibility with a fellow like Krefley all over the inside of the field with no help, and he covers him like he did then by getting himself positioned between himself and the tight end, then you've really got to play. I mean, there's nothing you can do.
Nelson, who played for his dad in high school in the Minneapolis area, then played for Ron Earhart in college at North Dakota State, and now they're rejoined with the New England Patriots. Third and 10.
Here they come again. They've got all 11 men on the line of scrimmage, Dick.
Got them, all 11.
They better get a good pass rush. throw it until you get good control of the ball when they come up and play that safety blitz. And I don't think their receivers are geared to play against bump and run, and neither one of them were open.
Jaworski hitting only 25% of his passes, and Grogan not much better, 33%. Roland James is deep inside the New England 20. 10 men on the line of scrimmage. They're coming. Good blocking and a good kick. James hit immediately and knocked out of bounds by JoJo Heath, number 29. 51-yard kick and no return. Say a reminder, folks, that next week on NBC's Major League Baseball, the game of the week will pit perennial rivals, the Pirates and the Phillies, or you may see another great rivalry, the Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. Check your local listings for the game in your area next Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on NBC Sports. Boy, they're down to less than 20 games left in the second season, and we'll have the mini playoffs, and of course the American and National League Series will be seen here on NBC. Sometime around November, the baseball champion will be crowned.
This is a critical series right now. New England's been able to move the ball. If they don't get it out of this hole, they're going to give Philadelphia good field position again.
Calhoun toppled at about the 11-yard line by John Bunting. Speaking of baseball, Bunting is a big baseball fan, Orioles fan. Went to school in North Carolina. In fact, Bunting named his son Brooks after one of his favorite players, Brooks Robinson. At the 11, second down, 6. See if the Patriots get a playoff before the 2-minute signal. It's 2:08, 2:07, 2:06, 2:02. Nope. 2-minute timeout. That'll give Grogan some extra time to chat with his coaches on the sidelines. So in a game that has featured just one score, the 22-yard field goal, the Patriots with the ball in the lead. 3-0. New England leading here in Philadelphia. Now, I'm going to go back to some comments you made earlier, John Brody. You said if the New England scores less than 20, you think it'll be the Eagles game, low-scoring game, and yet it's 3-0 Patriots at this point.
It's their kind of football game. That's what I'm saying. And New England right now has to capitalize on the good play of their defense. Their defense is playing up to its capability, and that's something that everybody's waited to have happen. Now they've got to do a little something on their own, get out of this hole. 38 games without winning when they didn't score 20 points somewhere. That seemed to get enough for me.
Usually have to outscore the opposition. This is an unusual game. Collins out to the 16. It's going to be close to a first down. Clock is running. Collins has had a good day. He's working towards 60 yards for the first half. Time called by Holm. Is that official timeout for measurement? No, it's the Eagles who call time. That's an interesting
Sure.
On 3rd and 1.
Wouldn't you? Because if they don't make a first down right now when they've got 1.5 yards to go and it's not any cinch, they get the ball about midfield. Then they'll have about 1.5 minutes with which to operate and get some points on the board. That's why I'm saying it's right now on the backs of the offense for New England to get them out of the hole. This is a very big play.
On the other hand, if the Patriots make a first down, they have helped the Patriots by using a timeout. New England has all 3 remaining. Philadelphia has but 1 left.
That's true, but it doesn't look as if New England's really in a position of trying to go all out to score any points because they've got 83 yards to go for a touchdown.
Halftime. I know you folks have enjoyed football, a doubleheader here on NBC. Pick up all the scores and highlights from Brian Gumbel, NFL 81. Yeah, both coaches.
They're talking about the same things we've been talking about, Dick. What do you want to do if you do get a first down? Do you want to get the ball up in the air? Do you want to control it some more, see if we get a good run, break up to the 30 or 35-yard line, where we get some operating room? Then we'll have our 3 timeouts. We can put something on the board.
It's an interesting call, John, because the Patriots have now seen New England come in with extra defensive line. They're going to their goal line defense and taking out a couple of defensive backs.
I know what I'd do right now. If they have a goal line short yardage pass, I would throw it.
All right, you gamble here.
Just as easy to get 80 as 60.
Calhoun, beautifully read by the defense. Stacked up, and then Jerry Robinson made the tackle. It appeared that play might really work, but they stretched it out to the sidelines, and Robinson made the play.
A lot plays look good in short yardage, but when you're running wide, they better break clean. This one did not break clean. You can see Jerry Robinson holding up all the blocking at the line of scrimmage. When a linebacker does that, it allows all his pals to come in the pursuit. They did. They called another timeout, and they're going to have about a minute and 37 seconds to operate.
Now, that's their last timeout, but they are going to have some time to try to tie it up or perhaps even take the lead. Grogan, neither quarterback very happy with the first 30 minutes, understandably. And you would not have figured this game to be 3-0 New England with only a minute and a half remaining in the second quarter.
No, and I will say that New England's defensive line has played exceptionally well up to here, and they should be given credit.
Hubach will punt. You saw Wally Henry back at the 45. Return artist. We'll see whether the Eagles now, with the Patriots pinned deep, put any pressure on Hubach. Let's just watch it the way Hubach will see the snap.
He sees more than a snap.
He hopes he doesn't see too many greens. Dying quail that Henry will fair catch at the Philly 49. So excellent field position for the Eagles with a minute 30 exactly remaining in the half. 35-yard kick.
It's those little sort of thoughts, Dick, that happen at the end of the half and the end of the game that put points on the board that get you into championship contention. And it wasn't any sort of thought on New England's part that didn't get them the first down. It was just excellent execution by the defense that gave their offense the ball at the 50.
And Jaworski has an ace in the hole in Tony Franklin, because if he gets the ball even to the 30, just 20 yards, he got Franklin's range with that long field goal.
Even to the 40.
That's true. And Franklin hasn't missed the preseason or regular season this year. Carmichael breaks the tackle.
Look at this.
Another tackle. He's to the 30-yard line.
All right. This is the big play you mentioned to get it to the 30-yard line. Maybe he was listening to you, because that's where the ball ends up. They're on the ball, first and 10 with about 1 minute exactly to go in the half, no timeouts.
Montgomery right in his hands and couldn't pull it in at the 22-yard line. So Jaworski, while his statistics have not been good, he also has had 3 or 4 drops.
Okay, this is the place, Dick, where if you're playing defense for New England, you do not want to go on an all-out safety blitz, because they don't have enough time to work the ball down the field. They would like to be able to take a chance and throw it in the end zone, particularly to a Carmichael on a one-on-one situation, or Charlie Smith. They've gambled twice, and they've come out winners defensively by putting them into that bump and run. I don't think you'll see it now.
All the completions by Jaworski have been to Carmichael. He's on the left side. Out of the backfield, Campfield. He breaks the tackle, but doesn't get very far. Gains only a yard. Tim Fox, number 48. The clock is running now, and the Eagles do not have a timeout to stop it. 39, 38, 37. It's 3-0 New England. There's Franklin. He's within range. Jaworski to Parker. That was more to stop the clock. Good coverage by Rick Sanford.
It might have been to stop the clock, Dick, but he had him open. He had him in a one-on-one situation. A good throw would have picked up the first down. As it is, Franklin's got to try and tie it with a field goal.
On 4th and 9, and less than a half minute remaining, this will be about a 46-yard attempt by Franklin. He hit one last week, 47. He's 7 for 7, including the preseason this year. And we all know about his long range. In college, he hit one 65 yards. In high school, he hit one 58. And he has the second longest ever in NFL history, 59.
see it ourselves. Sometimes you get a good angle from here. We're right at the back of it.
On the left, is that good or not? Right over the top of the bar, you can't tell.
The reason you can't tell definitively is because you don't know where the ball is. It might have gone in before it went out. At the end, it was definitely left, but we don't know about over the bar.
Some of the old timers will recall a field goal by Don Chandler of the Green Bay Packers against the Baltimore Colts that sent a playoff game into overtime.
He admitted that one might have been a little suspect.
And Jim Tunney was the man who made the call. He was the man under the upright.
How big would Tom Matty have been if the Colts had won that game?
Oh, boy, what a year that was for Matty. That one is just an exercise in distance. That would have been a field goal on a free kick from 50. So from the 20-yard line, New England, 22 seconds left, will put it in play. Of course, the one thing that the long kick did for New England was not a second expired. Grogan in a 3-3 tie.
You can see a lot of times when your defense is just playing their hearts out, and all these guys are really with it today, anything that goes against you a little bit, it just breaks your heart.
It'll be interesting to see whether Nelson just was ticketed for 15 yards or whether or not he was ejected from the game. In baseball, you throw your helmet, you're gone. We'll see how they roll it here in the NFL today.
I think he'll be back.
I do too. Grogan says that's all for the first half. We'll take a 3-3 deadlock. Well, we were kidding, John Brody, before the game about all the field goals kicked in the other NFL games. We got the same here in Philadelphia. The Patriots leave the field. Their field goal from 22, 46 yards for Franklin. It's an even game at halftime. Philadelphia Eagles 3, New England Patriots 3. We'll have our halftime scores in a moment.
The National Football League has a new club, and this one's just for kids. The NFL Super Pro Club. It's fun to be a member.
Through the year, your child will receive exciting surprises like this sideline saucer,
The official NFL Super Pro ID card, an official Super Bowl 16 poster, team decals, t-shirt transfers, lots of fun reading, and inside news about the NFL. An NFL standings board where members can track their favorite team to the Super Bowl.
You hope.
Why stand on the sidelines? Join the club.
The final was 31-0. Today, Joe Ferguson, 16 for 28, 261 yards, 4 touchdowns. This one was 54 yards to Jerry Butler. The Bills, an easy winner in Baltimore. They got by the Colts. The final in that ball game was 35-3. Okay, you're caught up on the finals. Let's bring you up to date on the games in progress. The one you're watching right now, New England against Philadelphia. At the half, it's tied at 3. Out in the Kingdom, Seattle and Denver are also tied. That ball game deadlocked at 10. Third period just getting underway, we're told. Detroit has just moved out in front of San Diego on the coast thanks to a Gary Danielson touchdown in the third period. Detroit now out in front of San Diego 10-7. The Jets are leading Cincinnati 17-10 at the half. Dallas cruising by St. Louis. It's 27-14 in the second. And out on the coast, 49ers out in front of the Bears 14-7 at the half. Let's go back to Dick Enberg in Philadelphia along with John Brody.
Getting ready for the second half in Philadelphia, 3-3 tie, and John Brody crossed my mind that some of the folks around the country are watching our doubleheader, Houston, Cleveland, and this game have watched 6 quarters of football, haven't seen a touchdown yet.
By 4 outstanding offensive football teams. Now, I don't know what's going on, but I do know there were a lot of mistakes that kept both teams off the scoreboard in the first half. This is Philadelphia's type of game. New England's defense has played exceptionally well. They're going to have to put another half like this together to come out on the top side.
We talked about the tall and short of it, Carmichael and Jackson. Carmichael a foot taller than Harold Jackson, but the 2 top pass receivers actively in the National Football League, Jackson number 1, Carmichael number 2. I would guess that we could continue to look to those numbers for possible scores.
You bet they're going to try to get to Carmichael, but they're going to try more to get to Wilbert Montgomery as far as the Eagles are concerned. Harold Jackson is the game breaker as far as the Pats are concerned.
All right, after the first half, a 3-3 tie, an early field goal by John Smith of 22 yards, then Tony Franklin with a somewhat controversial 40 26-yard field goal.
It was a little more than somewhat controversial because now we're going to see whether Steve Nelson is indeed remaining in the game, and that is an integral part of their defense.
The Eagles have one advantage, of course, having lost the toss to start the game. They will open the second half by receiving the football. Did you like that as a quarterback?
Sure, I always like to get the ball. You can't score without it, but I would rather have it in the second half than on the opening kickoff. And I think right now something has to break, and if it's going to, it better be quick. I'd like to have the ball first.
All right, let's go down to the field as we start this second half at Veterans Stadium. The Eagles deploy defensively. The first half statistics for you. You saw the Patriots with a 3-3 tie, had the ball about 5 minutes more than the NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles. And they outgained them 187 to 116.
Dick, I think the indicative thing here is that you see for the Pats 4 out of 14. That is not up to Grogan's average. He has had some balls dropped. On the other hand, Jaworski's had a lot dropped, but he's even got worse credentials. So we just got information that Nelson is indeed going to play in the second half, and that's good news for the Patriots fans.
Billy Campfield deep to return the kickoff to start the second half. From the goal line to the 24, breaks a tackle. At the 30. Mark Boobin, number 63, finally pushed him out of bounds after Campfield cleverly skipped out of the first contact. First down at the 30-yard line. Let's reset the offense for Philadelphia. Guy Morris to center. At guards are Kenny and Baker. Stan Walters and Sizemore tackle. The tight end Crufley. Jaworski has as his wide receivers Harold Carmichael and Charlie Smith, with Wilbert Montgomery and Perry Harrington in the backfield. Defensively for New England, it's Boobin, Bishop, and Adams in front. Hawkins, Nelson, Matthews, and Schode for the backers. Claiborne and Haynes at the corner, and Sanford and Fox at safety. Wilbert Montgomery drives to the 35-yard line, carrying Bill Matthews with him. It's 2nd and 7. Montgomery with 49 yards rushing in the game. His brother, Cleotha, I know Wilbur was very happy that Cleotha was just signed with the Cleveland Browns to replace Dino Hall in that kick return department. And he has two other younger brothers, one playing at Cal State Long Beach and another at Bakersfield Junior College. And they say they're two outstanding prospects.
I think they could win any family relay race, too.
The Montgomery team. 2nd and 7, 35 of Philadelphia.
Even try Mike Haynes, Dick, and when they do, they generally come up broke.
Jaworski, 5 for 17 passing. Neither quarterback going to improve his statistics much today. Jaworski, however, had it by far his best season last year, completing 57%. That was his best average. More touchdowns than ever, 27, and was intercepted only 12 times. That's a good number.
And that's what happens when you learn how to play the game.
Nearly on an 11-man line again. All the Patriots are in your picture. Jaworski has lots of time to find Montgomery. First down at the Patriot 40-yard line.
All right, what happens in the first half? New England pulls them. They come up on the line of scrimmage 3 times. They beat them in every passing situation. They go in at halftime and say, wait, we've got to get our best receiver out on one of their weakest defenders. How can we do it? That time, the offensive line picked up the blitz well enough to allow Jaworski time to throw to Montgomery. You give him the ball in the open field, and it's going to be a long afternoon.
First down all the way to the 40-yard line on a 25-yard play. Montgomery, as you saw the statistics, 50 catches last year. That was best of any Eagle. His first today.
There's another formation that favors Montgomery.
Down the middle. Carmichael. How did he hold on to the football at the 22-yard line? Tim Fox and Rod Schode made the tackle, and Carmichael hangs on to the pumpkin. 19 yards in the play.
Remember we discussed at halftime, would you like to have the ball first? The Eagles are not waiting around to play a side. Hawkins he turned him in, but found a little hole.
Took 4 Patriots to get him to the turf, and it is a first down. Nice thing, too, has happened to over in Montgomery, John. His alma mater, Abilene Christian, has honored him by establishing a scholarship fund, a $60,000 scholarship fund in his name at Abilene Christian. Now, that's a nice honor.
You bet it is, and he's deserving of that. Carmichael came off just a little shaken up when he did.
11 yards from a touchdown, 1st and 10. Montgomery down at the 8-yard line, tackled by 59. Mike Hawkins, he got there first.
Okay, running behind Jerry Sizemore. You can see he pulls out, tries to get the safety or the cornerback in this particular instance. Montgomery takes any crack he can find, and he usually slides through.
Montgomery given a breather. Harrington, the setback. UB Oliver has replaced Montgomery. Second and 7. Lots of time.
Out run.
And he's tackled forward to the 6-yard line by Tony McGee, trailing the play, number 78.
But we mentioned that Steve Nelson is playing the second half, and he's the reason that Jaworski had to eat the football, because he had Stagnola one-on-one out there and covered him like a blanket.
McGee from Bishop, after a couple of years at Wyoming, transferred to Bishop. Jaworski has come out throwing the football effectively, but now after a couple of runs, he faces 3rd and 4 at the 5-yard line. For Carmichael, and Ray Claiborne's initial bump at the line of scrimmage, that was enough to throw Carmichael off mark.
Exactly. You can only get one hand up on the ball. It takes perfect execution. If I was going to call that play, I'd love to take my chances with a man that's 6'8".
Well, you had one that alley-ooped it pretty good, didn't you?
Well, R.C. Owens, my first year was there and won 5 games for us, but Tittle was the thrower. He said, I've spent all my life trying to throw the ball properly, and now I've got to throw it like a jerk and let him make the catch. He never liked it, but it was pretty effective.
Franklin, second field goal try, short range, 27 yards. Hammers it through, and the Eagles, for the first time today, have the lead. 10 minutes, 5 seconds left in the third quarter. The Eagles' first possession of the second half produces a 3-pointer. Harold Carmichael, like a boxer, getting a little work in the corner of some ice. Look at that scoreboard across the way. It's in threes. It was 9-3. Houston beats Cleveland 6-3 here. This is NBC Football's version of Three's Company. Horace Ivory. Deep, deep, deep. Boy, that Franklin, he could hammer nails with that bare foot. First down, New England at the 20-yard line. Threes are wild. 9-3 was the score in the first game of our doubleheader, seen by most of you around the country, as Tony Frisch and the Houston Oilers won 9-3 against Cleveland. And here, 2 by Franklin and 1 by Smith. No touchdowns yet. Pennywell left for the injured Stanley Morgan. Harold Jackson to the right. Calhoun to the 26-yard line, a gain of 6. That gives him 57 yards for the day. Collins with 65 led New England first half.
All right, you saw New England line up in a double wing. What they're trying to do is keep the linebackers for the Eagles honest. They feel that if they're going to run against the 3-man line, they've got to keep the linebackers from shooting through the holes. You can do that by putting them in a double wing. It's also an excellent formation from which to throw the ball.
They bring in Mosi Tutupu for Calhoun, and play action to Collins. Brogan, plenty of time. Has a man open, Hasselbeck. He caught 6 last week, but that's his first today, and a first down at the 38-yard line.
And Dick, we might might get an indication as to why it is that the tight ends are catching fewer and fewer balls. Because against a three-man defensive line, look at the linebacker. He's there stuffing you right on the line of scrimmage, making it very difficult for you to get out. Had Hasselbeck not been in a position when Grogan rolled out looking for any receiver, he wouldn't have been thrown to. He was in a perfect place at the perfect time, and those are about the only kind of balls the tight ends are catching against that three-man line.
12-yard gain for Hasselbeck and a first down at the 38. Randy Logan made that tackle. First down. Great catch by Calhoun, and he was blistered by LeMaster, and a little extracurricular. Pat Harder, pretty good fullback at Wisconsin and in the National Football League with the Cardinals and the Lions, the umpire in the middle of that.
LeMaster got away with a little something there, in my opinion, Dick. Now, Tunney probably has as good a control of a football game as any official in the game. Here comes Calhoun on a very nice catch. LeMaster just unloads on him, then falls on him, and for some reason decides he's not done enough. He got away with something.
That's a little rodeo work there. Calhoun's first catch. What a catch it was for 5 yards.
Reverse.
Pennywell. And Carlos Pennywell out near the 48-yard line, close to a first down. Al Chesley, number 59, University of Pittsburgh product, replacing Bill Berge, made the tackle. They may have to measure.
I'll tell you what, when an umpire that likes reverses has got to be a little bit sick, because that's when they really get caught up in the action.
Well, that's not umpire Harder, but that's one of the sidelines officials, and he'd just soon be on the sidelines on a reverse.
We saw Pat Harder get caught up in the flow, and he's been accustomed to it.
He was one of the real tough eggs back in the 50s, 40s. Not quite a first down. That's Harder on the left.
With the limp.
That's right. That umpire has to be tough because he's right in the middle of all that flow, just a couple of yards. So, well, it's almost like playing a linebacker. And men are out there firing out, especially in that 3-4. They're firing out to hit those linebackers, and you're right there.
Yeah, you don't know where to go sometimes.
Third down, less than a yard for New England in a 6-3 game. Philadelphia leads. 7:45 left in the third quarter.
He got it.
Calhoun plowing for the first down out to the 50-yard line. Calhoun, who played with Grogan at Kansas State. Charlie Johnson off the bottom of the pile, a Pro Bowler for Philadelphia. That's an interesting matchup too, John. There's Charlie Johnson, that nose guard, playing right over Pete Brock, the center of New England, and they played 2 years at Colorado, practiced against each other every day.
I don't think there's neither one is going to fool the other too much. Of course, that doesn't happen down there in that particular spot. Pete Brock's played just about every position on the offensive line for the Pats, and now he's going to be a fixture at center.
Grogan has time to find Harold. No, that's not Harold Jackson. That's Don Westbrook. Al Chesley makes the tackle. So Don Westbrook has his second catch of the new season. The 5-year veteran from Nebraska, 20-yard play. Matt Cavanaugh, number 12, the handsome backup quarterback. Some say he's co-number 1 in New England.
Well, there's been a lot of good-looking quarterbacks, but he is very effective too, and his time will come. I know it's a little frustrating for him right now, but he's not playing because Grogan is doing a fine job.
Both teams have generated excellent drives to start this second half. Now on first down, screen incomplete. Probably just as well as Tony Collins had John Budding right on his tail. New England stopping Philadelphia inside the 10, and the Eagles had to go for the short field goal. And now the Patriots drive, the Eagles trying to return the favor.
Seems to be getting tougher and tougher today once you get inside that 30 to do much movement.
I tell you, I think if someone scores a touchdown, they ought to stop the game, bring the band out, have halftime all over again. Second and 10.
Look out. Uh-oh.
Intercepted. Defense. They spell it E-A-G-L-E-S here in Philadelphia, and they lead it 6-3. Steve Grogan on the left. You see Matt Cavanaugh in the background, number 12, and he picks up a ball, but hopefully rather than under Odom. Well, maybe he is going to start warming up. Here's the pressure that Grogan faced under a blitz, and he dumped it off blindly, and LeMaster was waiting in the weeds.
And he had to try and make a good play. It would have taken him out of field goal range had he been tackled back there, and that's one of those chances you take and you come up broke.
Perry Harrington gets about 3. Julius Adams, 85, riding him down. Here's Cavanaugh from the University of Pittsburgh, second-round pick in '78. Grogan apparently had pinched nerve in his neck. It's not serious, but nevertheless, Cavanaugh tuning up.
If he can walk back out there, he'll be back out there. He does not want to get off this football field.
Carmichael right with Smith wide right. Montgomery with a big hole. Tim Fox stops Montgomery after a 20-yard sprint.
We've seen New England with its back up against the wall defensively for quite a bit of the first 3 quarters. Now you can see what offensive holes they've created on occasion for Wilbert Montgomery. This is about as big a hole as I've seen all day. The Eagles are on the move. If New England can hold them here, the dam will not break. But it's very important to hold them to 3 only.
82 yards for Montgomery. 6-3 Philadelphia leads. 4 minutes left in the third quarter. Harrington reversing. Got some blockers now.
He's got some help.
And gets to the 25. I thought he'd get much more. And one of the blockers was Ron Jaworski.
And I don't think he recognized that he had Jaworski out in front of him, or he'd have continued wide.
Jaworski was doing a good job tying up one of the defensive backs. You like to see that. May not always be wise, but boy, he's competitive.
You've got to help. I mean, you're not too anxious when he turns direction, but you do have to do your job once he gets there.
Second down, a short 5. Montgomery, oh, what a move he made to elude a loss, and he gets a first down at the 20-yard line. Oh, my.
Dick, I don't know if we're lucky enough to have been able to pick up Steve Kenny, Guy Morris, and Ron Baker on that play, but they just moved the center of the pad line back about 4 yards, which allowed Montgomery, once he got to the line of scrimmage, to do his work. Look at this. Now, this is movement. You move somebody back 2 or 3 yards, it gives them a chance to make a break, create a little space for themselves.
In the meantime, Montgomery did a beautiful dancing step, skipped to his left, and eluded a tackler behind the line of scrimmage. Leading 6-3, the Eagles, another impressive march. Dumps it to Harrington.
Oh.
2 Patriots blocked one another, and Harrington has it first and goal at the 8-yard line.
Ron Baker actually got out in front of the play, Dick, and when he did, 2 Patriots fell over themselves trying to avoid him. Take a look at that. That's doing your job. Harrington picks up the first down.
See again the 2 white jerseys as Jaworski dumps it off to Harrington. Watch right up here on the right portion of your screen. There's one down there. The 2 men. 2 men knocked down, and that gives Harrington lots of running room. First and goal at the 8-yard line. His first catch of the day. Smith in motion. Montgomery slipping as he started back inside. Gets a couple. Don Blackman, number 55, a rookie, 4th round pick from Tulsa University, made the tackle. He was 3 times All Missouri Valley as a linebacker.
And this is where the Pats have been real tough. Now, they haven't had a man open in the end zone on the Eagles' part when they got down in this position all day.
And here's the key, too, John. You look at that scoreboard. If they stop the Eagles, force a field goal, 9-3, they can still take the lead with a touchdown despite 2 long Eagle marches. So it's critical for Philadelphia to try to get 6 out of this effort. Harrington, touchdown!
Dick, credit the interior part of the Eagles' offensive line. Morris, Kenny, and Baker on the whole drive. Every time they've moved right up the gut. You take a look. There's Morris. He's moving Hamilton out of the way. Hamilton tries to make a stab late. Not good enough down in that short yardage area.
Harrington, that's Bow Wow giving him a little congratulations. He's storing himself. Franklin kicks it through, and the Eagles now pad their lead to 13-3. 6-yard run by Harrington to cap a 54-yard march after the interception by Frank LeMaster. And the NFC champions now have a 10-point lead. You're Horace Ivory. You're in your own end zone, and you're looking downfield at the opposing 35 at Tony Franklin. And you hope that Franklin doesn't drive you right out of the end zone as he has the last 2 times. Off the lights with that one. Horace Ivory out to the 18-yard line, and that's all. Louis Jamona made the tackle.
Dick, you know, I really think Franklin is most responsible for the short run back because he allows Jamona. He allows all of his offensive people going down under the kick to get inside the 20-yard line by the time the receivers caught the ball. If you kick it real high, even if it doesn't go out of the end zone, you can do some work. That's what happened there. They're 1st and 10 inside the 20.
Great play by Jamona. Louis, named after Dick Vermeil's father, Mr. Louis Vermeil. Of course, this is well known, Dick Vermeil, the uncle of Louis Jamona. Jackson in motion, 13-3 now, the Eagles lead. Cavanaugh, the new quarterback, hands it off. There may have been a fumble. No, the official saying the ball was down, and New England will retain possession. As Collins lost the ball as he was tackled, it's 13-3. Philadelphia in the 3rd quarter here against the Patriots. Now to New York in this update.
All right, Dick, at Shea Stadium, the Jets have padded their lead against Cincinnati's Bengals. Pat Leahy doing the honors with his right foot from 22 yards out. Jets now on top 20-10, that one in the 3rd. Dick?
Patriots here in Philadelphia at the 21-yard line retain possession. Matt Cavanaugh's first throw, subbing for Grogan down the middle to Hasselbeck. Almost intercepted on the tip. Hasselbeck is 6'7", but that one a bit too tall. He tried for the one-handed play.
And that's the first time, Dick, that he's had Hasselbeck open in the middle of the field. Now, it's not a perfect situation for a quarterback like Cavanaugh to be coming into the ball game, but if they're going to move, he's got to get them going.
Hale in the game now is Gregory Brown, number 98. He had 2 sacks in his very first NFL game last year. And is he a story? I hope we have time to tell. There he is, Gregory Brown. He was at Kansas State, went to Eastern Illinois over 2 years ago, quit at Christmas vacation. He's been out of football over 2.5 years. I want to continue the story because it's really an inspiration to the long shot.
3rd and 6.
Jackson caught it out of bounds. So it'll be 4th down, and the Patriots will have to kick. So Brown, Gregory Brown, he went back to Washington, D.C. His old coach, John Burlink at Eastern Illinois, said, stick around. I mean, I'll stay in touch. I'll get you a pro job. Well, Mr. Brown moved around. He said, everyone lost my phone number. There's Brown in action. And he said, I've been working with some men on a construction job in D.C. playing basketball with the Georgetown guys at night. He said, I'm crossing the street in Washington, D.C. this spring, and there's Coach Sterling in a car. And he says, I'm going to get you a job. And he called Vermeil. Vermeil gave him a chance. And here he's talking about a long shot free agent. He's made this club. Wally Henry, another free agent. They have 17 on this Eagle roster. Gets back to the 37.
You know, it also ought to be kept in perspective. He made the toughest section of this club.
That's right, the defensive line. And gets, as we said, 2 sacks last week against the Giants. Timeout, half-minute left, third quarter. The owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, Leonard Tose, his wife, Caroline. Now they got their monitor. Mr. Tose, the wisdom to pick Dick Vermeil out of the collegiate ranks. And Vermeil has said, what an owner to work for. If I wanted it, he's given it. And it's paid off. Perry Harrington, the touchdown maker. Out to the 46-yard line. Gain of nearly 10. You could hear the pads pop as Nelson and the rookie Blackman made the tackle.
They made the tackle, but I'll tell you, Kenny Morrison Baker made the hole.
They have done a job. Morris from TCU, the center. Kenny from Clemson. Baker from Oklahoma State doing the blocking out front as you look at Don Hasselbeck. That is the end of the third quarter here at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. The Eagles trying to make it 2-0. Patriots trying to come up with their first win, but trail by 10.
Sports Final Sunday night at 11:20. Go for it, George.
The owner of the Eagles, Mr. Tose, equal time to the president of the Patriots, and happy birthday, the gentleman in the first row in the yellow shirt on the right, Billy Sullivan. Happy birthday. We understand it's like a trade, a number to be announced later.
And it's not too happy yet.
No, 13-3 are not happy numbers for the Patriots owner and fans, and the Eagles have the ball opening this fourth quarter in Philadelphia. 46. This is 2nd and 10. Suddenly, Perry Harrington finding a new flow of life after the touchdown. He's just been barreling over tacklers. Rod Schode finally got him, but not until Harrington had an Eagle first down at the Philly 44.
Again, you'll notice, Dick, during all 3 of these drives in the second half, the Eagles have put men in motion. They've done a lot of different formations, but they're running the same play. Sometimes it's to Harrington, sometimes it's to Montgomery. They're going right over Kenny Morrison Baker.
Harrington at the Patriot 44 now has 60 yards, complimenting Montgomery's 89. That's been a good 1-2 punch. Montgomery. And now with the lead, you can see what Vermeil's thoughts are. Try to get 5 yards a carry, and we'll just chew up the clock and try to get points too. Bill Matthews made that last tackle. Other scores in the NFL today. Fourth quarter, Seattle 13, Denver 10. That's up at the Kingdome. The third quarter, the Lions trail San Diego. Now that's now in the fourth quarter, 21-20 Chargers. The Jets lead Cincinnati by 10 in the third period. Dallas 27, St. Louis 14 in the third quarter. Injury on the field. We've got a timeout here as you see San Francisco is leading the Bears by 4. It's 13-3. The Eagles over the Patriots. 14 minutes left in this one in Philadelphia. The New England sidelines, number 57, Steve Nelson, shaken up on that last play. Outstanding linebacker of the Patriots. The Eagles have the ball, 40-yard line of New England, and they lead 13-3 Philadelphia. Less than 14 minutes left. Montgomery with that fast start, but he ran into a stone wall as Bob Golick of Notre Dame, second-year linebacker, All-American at Notre Dame, and he put quite a hit on Montgomery. You don't see Wilbur stop short that quickly, and he doesn't
so successful in the last 3 drives, moving the ball up the middle. That time Richard Bishop and Golick were right on the play.
3rd and 5 out of the shotgun, Jaworski. What a catch by Billy Campfield. First down at the 34.
You see the Eagle receivers doing the things they weren't doing well in the first half. A lot of backs drop balls in the same situation. 3rd down and 4, 3rd down and 5. This is beyond the call right here. Schott plays the man pretty well, but that's a big one at the right time.
Beautiful play by Campfield from Kansas. 11th round pick in 78 as they work on Wilbert Montgomery. First down at the 34. And the clock running 12 minutes left.
Trying to get to his...
Almost intercepted as the Patriots were flying from all angles.
I almost said, Dick, he's trying to get down to Spagnola, and I think Carmichael and everybody in the house thought he was going down there. Carmichael was actually very well covered. You can see Vermeil as hot as he can be because Spagnola broke dead clear just as Jaworski let the ball go. Had he waited a split second longer, it would have been 6.
Vermeil, who has been often mic'd in some of the great footage NFL films, he's a colorful, interesting, dynamic, intense person.
I know what all those coaches are saying because I put him in that position several times. We worked on it all week, and this donkey throws it to the wrong man.
Dumps it out in the flat to Louis Chimona. And Louis, people's choice in Philadelphia, gets about 7 on the play down to the 27-yard line. Sugar Bear Ray Hamilton made the tackle from behind. That's the first catch for Chimona. Played at Utah State.
Ray's trying to do some stretching exercises. It's cramp time out here right now. Anybody that's wearing down a little bit, they've lost a lot of fluid, and cramps start becoming part of the deal.
Warm and humid in Philadelphia, 83, 85 degrees of temperature, but down on the carpet you got to add at least 10. 11:20 left in the game. Clock running against New England. They must stop the Eagles. 71,089, the official paid attendance. Louis Chimona, and Jaworski, as soon as he handed off, knew that it was a mistake, that they had really read it well. So we'll see whether or not Franklin tries a long field goal when we return.
This is Bryant Gumbel in New York at Shea Stadium. The Bengals are driving on the Jets. Pete Johnson, he of the Thundering Thighs, gets it in close in a 33-yard gain, but the Bengals continue to trail 20-10. Let's go back to Philly.
All right, Brian. And here, Tony Franklin will try to give the Eagles a 13-point lead. It would be a 44-yard attempt. Yep.
Chip shot for him.
It's no good. Missed to the right. So Franklin, who was perfect in 1981, 6 for 6 in the preseason, and 3 for 3 in the regular year, misses on his 10th attempt. No, nobody is perfect. 10-17 remaining in this 4th quarter, and the Patriots still alive, but trail by 10.
This is Bryant Gumbel in New York at Shea Stadium. The Bengals have pulled to within 3 of the Jets. This is Archie Griffin going in off the right side, following the lead block of Pete Johnson. Bengals score point after good. It's now a 20-17 ball game. Let's go back to Veterans Stadium.
Number 57, Steve Nelson, will not return as they work on an injured left ankle. Of course, the Patriots without 2 of their star offensive starters, Vegas Ferguson, the running back, and Stanley Morgan, wide receiver.
And Ken Clark just replaced Charlie Johnson at the nose tackle, so you know how hot it's getting.
Kavanaugh dumps it out of the backfield to Calhoun, and he ducks out of bounds with a first down at the 36-yard line. Now, Matt Kavanaugh, now the quarterback, John Brody, and you've seen it. You went through it yourself. You play 2 quarterbacks, and you know that has inherent problems.
To me, I think it's much better if you have one definitive quarterback, one guy, but they happen to have 2 excellent players. I think in New England, it's been a tough town on quarterbacks. I mentioned earlier in the broadcast that I think it's the defense that really hasn't been up to playoff caliber. Today, the defense has played up very well, and the offense has not done well. They've spurted all day long, and I think this substitution is because of that fact, not because of Grogan's injury. It's a place where Kavanaugh could work himself right into the lineup if they go down and have a good game.
They need to score out of this drive with the clock working against them. 10:01, 10 minutes exactly left, and the clock running. 13-3, the Eagles lead. Kavanaugh running the attack now with Grogan on the bench. That gain up the middle, enough for a first down at the 39-yard line.
We're talking about situations that coaches put themselves in sometimes. Chuck Knox wouldn't take Joe Ferguson out when it was 31-0 last week because he didn't want Robinson to create any disturbance.
Whoops. Might have been a full start on that one. Al Chesley right in on Kavanaugh. A couple of teammates at Pittsburgh.
There comes a time in every man's career when it's time for you to make the move, and I'd say Kavanaugh's been around long enough. Today is a perfect setting. I remember I was traded one time from San Francisco. We were behind.
Start, number 62, 5 yards, still first down.
We were right wheeler, Gildy.
We were behind 10-0. All of a sudden, we happened to win the game 14-10. The trade was nullified, and I was able to stay in San Francisco for 15 more years. So stranger things have happened.
The Bengals pull within 3 of the Jets. Yeah, Cincinnati likes that comeback roll. They fall behind by a couple of touchdowns, had the opposition just where they want them. They were down 17, 21-0, something like that last week when they beat Seattle. Out of the backfield, wide open, the rookie Collins, and he's out of bounds at midfield, a first down. So Kavanaugh finding his men open in the flats.
You notice that also Hasselbeck was open one time today, and that's why when Kavanaugh called his number, he did not hit him, he overthrew him, but different plays are being sent in for one quarterback as for another.
Well, Kavanaugh now 2 out of 4, 13-3, the deficit for the Patriots. Well, far left with Jackson slotted. Hasselbeck on this side. Over the middle is Collins. And Chesley wraps him up after a 5-yard gain. Second down, 5, New England.
That's a play you can't teach a halfback. He makes the play, tries to make a good move to get to the outside. He sees it just gets more congested, is smart enough to take his 6 yards, hit the dirt, and let's go back in a huddle.
Checking other NFL action, the Cowboys about to make it 2-0 as they've rolled up a 16-point lead, 30-14 over St. Louis, third quarter. Here, Eagles 13, New England 3. Time running out, 8:50 left. Outstanding prognosticator. You said that if it's a low-scoring game, true to the Eagle performance, that Philadelphia should win. If it's high-scoring or over 20 points, you like New England. Here we are, 13-3. This is the Eagles-type ball game.
Well, 74, still second down.
I was really relating to the stats and how they indicated such a situation, but you can see the Eagles have allowed their opponents 7 times to score less than 10 points. Now, they've won all of those ball games, and they are accustomed to being in real tight situations like this, tight ball games where neither offense is making much move. And it looks like they're very comfortable right now.
Out of the shotgun, 2nd and 15. Kavanaugh with a little quarterback draw, and he gets out across the 50, but that just back to a 3rd and 9. Ken Clark made the tackle, a free agent from Syracuse after a 6-yard gain. Man with bad knees, tough play.
Well, this is not a throw at any time. He just takes a couple steps back, looks to the outside, waits for the linebackers to back off. One more good block, and he'd have had a little room to go, but he's making it the tough way.
And the clock continues to roll. 8:07, 8:06, 8:05 left. Eagles 13, Patriots 3. He needs 9.
You can get it.
And he gets out of bounds before Jerry Robinson says hello.
He got 9, didn't he?
You quarterbacks could add pretty well.
Well, you can see those stakes, and you don't want to go out on the wrong side of them, but you do want to get out.
9 plus 1 for good measure and a first down on the 10-yard run by Kavanaugh. Now, between Kavanaugh and Grogan, 6 knee operations in the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, he's not what you'd call a scat-back quarterback. He's taken very good advantage of what has been given him because the defensive secondary for the Eagles is playing exceptionally.
Yards rushing almost even today. But on the scoreboard, it's 13-3 Philadelphia. Overthrown, intended for Don Westbrook.
And I know who made the play. Hairston and Humphreys. They had a hold of Kavanaugh's legs. He still could have made the completion. It would have been a big gain and put him in scoring position. But because they had a hold of him, he threw it right over the top of an open receiver. Take a look. Watch down on the field. You'll see, okay, Claude Humphreys got his legs twisted. It's pretty hard to throw from there.
And that's the 4th Eagle interception today.
This is the idea behind the IBM Electronic 75 typewriter, to help secretaries be more productive automatically. It has automatic retyping and revision, automatic centering and underlining.
Matt Kavanaugh intercepted for the first time all 4 Patriot turnovers, interceptions at Eagle defense, putting pressure on the quarterback. And now Jaworski will try to run out the clock with a 10-point lead. 7 minutes, 40 seconds remain. Montgomery, okay, is back in the game. And that's Wilbur. Oh, he takes another good pop at the 17-yard line. Rod Choate made the tackle.
Okay, throughout this whole second half, Dick, it's been the 3 men inside, Baker, Kinney, and Morris, who have provided Montgomery and Harrington with running room. And these 3 guys have been up to the task in the second half. They are in great shape. Remember, these are 2 guards that weren't playing first string last year, and their coordination is just starting to come into focus.
That's right. Woody Peoples now retired, and Petey Perreault are the starting guards. Perreault with a back injury. Second down, 6. 100 yards for Montgomery. Montgomery, lucky to get back to the 16. Appeared to be a mix-up. Choate and Adams had infiltrated. Brings up third down.
Interesting situation, Dick, because now do you throw it from deep in your own territory? I don't think they will. They haven't seen any indication that New England's going to score. They haven't all day. There's 6.5 minutes to play. I think they'll try and run 30 seconds off the clock, and it's time for New England to figure out they've got 2 drives. They can't play any sort of ball control. Let's get a drive going sort of football. They've got to put it in the air, or they may not get it back again.
That's right. It's now not only counting seconds, but counting possible possessions, and you need it at least twice. Down 13-3.
Like I said, he's going to throw it.
3rd and 7. Yeah, but a little safety screen to Montgomery. 30, 40. Flag is down. Montgomery to the 23-yard line. Rick Sanford made the tackle, but they're going to call it back. Even with the flags, however, I believe they'll get a first down. It would have been a 61-yard play. Beautifully called, no risk, a little screen.
Oh, the great part, and Jaworski set the whole thing up. He looked over to his left. He kept the attention off the intended area of throw long enough so that the screen actually had a chance to set up. Just taking a look to his left, he hits Montgomery on a real quick screen. All his linemen are out in front of him, and his offensive guards do have good speed.
Illegal use of the hands, pushing in the back, above the waist. Number 17, 10 yards, first down.
It's twice that Carmichael's been guilty of a downfield illegal block, but it's still a first down as the yardage gain at the point point of foul allows him out to the 38.
All right, a real quick screen. Everybody gets out in front. The play looks excellent. Let's see if we can see number 17 right there. I couldn't see it, but
he had committed the foul before.
Yeah.
Well, that Montgomery in the open field is exciting. Yeah, Carmichael says they're not paying me for blocking anyway. Yes, they are. Montgomery gets 32 yards out of it, and he's having a big day, 130 yards. He is something special.
He has a big day every week, doesn't he? They can use him so many ways. As a pass receiver, he might be as effective as anybody on the ball club. As a running back, he's awesome, and he can also block.
Now, he was around until the 6th round of the draft in '77. This is Jamona. Boobin missed him. The secondary, along with Bill Matthews, made the tackle. And the reaction in the background, you hear him yell, "Lou," for Jamona.
Well, the remaining realistic chance for the Pats is to strip somebody of the ball, so you can bet both those running backs will have their arms protecting it at every precaution.
2nd down and 5. Clock ticking away. Philadelphia Eagles. Allowed only a touchdown and a field goal last week in beating the Giants 24-10. Like the Buffalo Bills, their defense has been outstanding in this early '81 year. Short of the first down is Perry Harrington. Julius Adams had him tied up just across the 45-yard line. Ron Earhart in that frustrating position of knowing you can't do much unless you get the ball and then get it again and score both times.
And he's watching that clock go down to just about 4.5 minutes. If they can't keep him from making this first down, they could be in. It could be Katie bar the door.
3rd and 2. Harrington having his best game in the NFL in his 2nd year, 63 yards rushing and a touchdown.
Not decreased a bit defensively for the Pats all day long.
Haynes, who started late last year because of contract dispute.
Everybody's off on the ball very well, but they're not getting any penetration downfield. That allows Haynes to come up with no blocker in front of him and make the tackle.
So Roniger forced to kick with 3:50, 3:49. And he'll take as much time as he can. The 30-second clock is only at 14. There's no need for him to kick for another 10 seconds.
All of them loom large toward the end.
Boy, you did this well. You always knew what that 30-second clock was, and it just used to be so frustrating when the 49ers were ahead late.
Didn't happen too often, though.
Not enough, anyway. Beautiful kick by Roniger. Goes into the end zone. Now out to the 20 with 3 minutes and 22 seconds left. 57 yards, 37 net. Timeout at Veterans Stadium. The Eagles in command, 13-3. 13-3, the Eagles, Dick Vermeil's club, in front. They were tough to beat at the Vet last year. In fact, they were 9-1, including a couple of playoff wins. They only lost to Atlanta on a field goal.
Dick, it might be worth mentioning that the Pats have only been able to get the ball way downfield once. That was to Harold Jackson early in the ball game. They've got to get it down the field to do any good. They can't afford ball control.
Humphrey on pressure. Throw is complete to Collins. He has a first down at the 31-yard line. Frank LeMaster made the tackle. Other scores, the finals: Houston beat Cleveland 9-3, Kansas City over Tampa Bay 19-10. It was Atlanta 31, Green Bay 17. New Orleans beat the Rams 23-17. Giants 17, Washington 7. Buffalo, another big win, 35-3 at Baltimore. Other scores in the fourth quarter: Seattle 13, Denver 10. Detroit 23, San Diego 21 in the fourth quarter. Jets lead the Bengals 20-17. Dallas 30, St. Louis 14. San Francisco 21, the Bears 17. So you're up to date. And Jackson tracked down by Carl Hairston. should have had 5 already. Remember the one that Young dropped right in his arms?
One last chance. Kavanaugh's been a little high all day long, and then part of that is because the Eagle defenders have been in his path on a couple occasions.
2-minute timeout given at the 1:56 mark. The Philadelphia Eagles, the NFC champions, their home opener, and their defense has been impressive again. 13-3, less than 2 minutes left.
As a professor of quiet, I never raise my voice above my finger. However,
we're at Philadelphia, where the Eagles lead 13-3. They're having quite a battle at Shea Stadium, where the Jets opened up a 14-0 lead in the second quarter, and the Bengals, playing from behind, have finally rallied to 20-17. And we're going to be switching you to that, so you folks are going to have a triple header on NBC. As soon as this game's over, we'll go to Shea Stadium. You'll see the final minutes of that game between the Bengals and Jets. Pennywell can't make the catch out at the 42-yard line, and that brings up 4th and long for New England.
All right, you don't very often get a situation where you've got 3rd down and 20 yards to go and be able to find an open receiver. He found one then, he overshot him again.
Understand that the Seahawks have beaten Denver 13-10, a final. And after being shut out at the Kingdome last year, they were 0-8, Seattle at home. They finally won one.
Now this is something, I don't know, maybe I'm going to give you my opinion. I think if you have any chance to win, they've got to do it with this possession. 4th down, I don't care what a team beats me by, I'm going to take every opportunity to win the football game. They've got one more last gasp. I'll be surprised if they punt, but I don't know if Smith or Honeker's ever...
He's kicking it.
It's gone.
Wally Henry, 45-50, and to the 48 of New England. That is surprising.
Ball game's gone with it.
So a 33-yard punt. The Eagles have the ball and apparently have their second win in the bank.
Of your car, for sure. Now get up to $9.50 in total refunds on these Motorcraft products.
New England has lined up back in punt formation. Leonard Tost, the president of the Eagles, now congratulating his team. But here again, Hubach, with 1:41 left, New England's going to punt. I don't understand, John. I agree with you.
I think what you're doing is you're letting your ball players down. I think you have to give them every opportunity to win. They've played their hearts out today. True, nothing's happened good for them, but give themselves a chance.
So on 4th and 13, rather than gambling and going for a first down, they kick it away, and Henry is wrapped up on the far side by Matthews at the 30-yard line. So Ron Earhart down 13-3, and you can't win without the ball.
Well, a lot of people are going to second-guess that call, and it's happened before in football, and it will happen again. But to me, you have to take every opportunity you have to win. I don't care if you throw 12 interceptions. I'm going to go for the 13th.
And it's, there have been teams that, with 1.5 minutes left, have been able to score and get an onside kick and get a chance at a field goal and tie it up.
I remember 72. It kept us out of the Super Bowl because Staubach forgot that we'd beaten him, and he came back in 1.5 minutes and scored 14 points, and we went home and he went to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, it happens a lot.
And now the Eagles can just go through the exercise of running out the final 1.5 minutes. We're going to go to Budweiser NFL Report, and you'll see that Jets game, and Montgomery might go all the way. Roland James bumps him out of bounds at the 28-yard line. And Wilbert Montgomery went through 100 like a rocket, and now he's looking at a 200-yard day.
Oh, he's having a lot of fun. This is the part of the game where all the backs get in a huddle and say, give it to me, big fella. When you've got a ball game wrapped up, and right now I think it's the first time I've seen it all day long, the defense for New England knows the ball game is over. They've hung in there all day, and I think to their credit, if their offense had put any points on the board at all, they very easily could have won.
At the 28-yard line, well, when the Patriots punted it away, I think New England said, hey, what are we going to do now? 1:17 left. Jaworski to Jamona. And he's close to the 20-yard line, shy of a first down. 10:03 left here in Philadelphia. The Eagles looking for some frosting. Let's go to New York and Bryant.
Okay, Dick, I know time's winding down on your game, but at Shea Stadium, the verdict is still up for grabs. The Jets have just had their drive stop. This punt winds up a one-hopper behind the mound. Bengals have the ball trailing by 3. A lot of time left. 20-17. Dick?
All right, plenty of time, Bryant, and we'll be switching to that game at the conclusion of this one. I'd like to thank our spotters today, Denny Martin, Mike McKay, Joe Costanza, our statistician, Larry Cirillo, our producer, Ted Nathanson, our director, Dick Vermeil directing the Eagles to a home opener. A victory, apparently, 13-3. The green and white in the lead.
I don't know if conditioning had anything to do with the outcome of this ball game. We all know that the Eagles are well conditioned. It's my opinion that the defense of New England is well conditioned, but I do think something took a toll. In the second half, the Eagles were able to run the ball effectively. And remember, the Pats only have 5 defensive linemen, and they didn't get a chance to get a break. We saw all 7 of the defensive linemen for the Eagles in on a regular basis, rotating. And I don't know if it took its toll or not, but it sure could have.
Yeah, the NFC, many of the teams are tired of hearing the AFC crow about the fact that they've outplayed them, outscored them, defeated them in the past several years. Well, this is an NFC versus AFC, and the Eagles are going to have a chance to crow about their play today. And they'd like to add to the total as Hubie Oliver, 10th round draft pick from Arizona. He's 5'10" and 212, brings out some more smiles.
Timeout, New England, number 2.
Now New England calls a timeout. Well, that isn't quite consistent with kicking the ball away on 4th and 12.
Not to me. I think it's overlooking the fact that you don't have enough time left to get it done unless they've thrown on 4th down.
Hubie Oliver, the man who carried that ball, was the 275th collegian selected in the draft, and Brian Earhart. Dick Vermeil.
With all these rule changes, Dick, was there an 11-point play put into the new rules? Maybe there was. Because that's the only way they can get back in it.
13-3. 52 seconds left here in Philadelphia. Let's check again on what's happening elsewhere in the NFL.
Well, Dick, at Shea Stadium, the Jets have just managed to blunt a Bengal scoring drive. Kenny Anderson rolling out and throwing this one. Unfortunately for him, it winds up in the arms of number 28, Darrell Ray, second-year man out of Oklahoma. Jets in possession of the ball with a 2017 lead. Dick?
Thank you, Bryant. The Jets trying to pull out their first victory of 1981. The Giants were victorious earlier today. Some of the surprises continue. Kansas City jumping out of the gate 2-0. They beat Tampa Bay. The Rams, with all their off-the-field backroom problems, lost again. And Bum Phillips. Yeah, the Saints fans who were able to cheer only one victory all last year, they're 1-1 this year.
And that man, number 86, is a man that the Pats sorely missed today.
Stanley Morgan did not play today. Knee injury. First down, Jamona runs into his own blockers. Stripped to the ball. And with 43 seconds left, New England has it. Now you play the game of if. If New England had been able to score even a field goal on that last possession, now they'd have a final shot at it.
Gets them back to the same place they were with 4th down and 14.
We understand that John McEnroe has won the U.S. Tennis Open again, defeating Bjorn Borg in the finals.
And he beat Bjorn at his best. I don't know if he beat him at his best today, but he has played about as well as he's ever played on that sort of surface throughout the past 2 weeks. So 3 in a row isn't bad, is it?
Well, McEnroe really establishing the fact that he is the top singles, maybe doubles player. He's the complete player in tennis today. Kavanaugh out of the shotgun. He's lucky to hold on to the ball and his head on that one. Leonard Mitchell from Houston, the top draft pick, number 99 of Philadelphia, recorded the sack. That's the first by the Eagles today. Clock running, 34-33 left. Just does get it away. And the catch made by Hasselbeck with Wilson, the tackler, short of the first down. Now they're saying no catch. No catch, and they were helped out by Herman Edwards. The officials were. He said, hey, he did not have possession. And many of the crowd of over 71,000 heading for the exits here at Veterans Stadium. No question, John Brody, the Eagles are going to be a team that you have to figure at this point, 12 games away from the playoffs, they're going to have a spot.
Well, it's my opinion that the Eagles have both sides of it with an excellent defensive special teams. And you take a look at Buffalo. Right now, they're the only other team I can see in football that is dominating both sides of the game.
On third and long. Deep for Horace Ivory, incomplete. Well, if you weren't with us at the start of our telecast in Philadelphia, the Brody theorem involved basically this. He was just pointing out the statistics to see a pattern. Last year, the Eagles lost 5 games, and in each of the 5 games that they lost, the opponent scored 20 points. Whenever they held someone under 20, they won the game. On the other hand, New England in 38 consecutive games did not win when they scored less than 20. Well, they have 3 today. The Eagles needed only 13, and the pattern continues. The good teams in all sports have the good defense.
They win those 1-0 games.
Cavanaugh, fourth. Oh, and open. No, it's intercepted by Edwards. Wide open was Pennywell. The pass was short, and that's the 5th interception by the Eagles today.
One more play in this game's history, Dick.
9 seconds left. Herman Edwards, a free agent pick. How many the Eagles, who were without their top draft choices for so many years because they had traded their number 1s and 2s away, had to go to the free agents, and how wisely they were able to search them out. Here's Herman Edwards. Been a great player for them. Everyone had a shot at him.
And you can see the downcast expression on the Pat side, but on the Eagles side, Fred Bruni, who's been coaching very well in Philadelphia for a number of years, and Marion Campbell have put together a defensive performance.
It's tough to open 0-2, and that's the story for the Patriots as they've lost today 13-3. The Eagles start where they finished the regular season last year. They're 2-0. We're pleased you've joined us. Dick Enberg for John Brody, Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, where the defense of the Eagles helps them to a 13-3 victory. Now to Brian Gumbel in New York.